Hello and welcome to the Section 101 podcast recap of NBA free agency. So far, it's going to be a great episode. David Blazer will host for the first time. Ronnie Decker will also be along for the ride. Some big news that was posted to our Instagram page over this 4th of July week. Go follow us there. David Blazer and Jack Boschert are now members of Section 101. David will be covering basketball, football, and some soccer, while Jack will be head of soccer, along with doing some football. Also, we will be placing more of a focus on long-form content, so we will have more actual videos and podcasts than shorts in the future. So looking forward to that. Now hand it over to David and Ronnie as they begin their recap of NBA free agency so far.
Thank you, Ben, for that amazing intro. Just going to say a couple of words. I'm really happy to have David on the team. He's been a great guest. We've had him on for 2 episodes, to the NFL draft and the NBA draft. He's been amazing. We've had Jack on as well for the Super Bowl, I believe. Trying to remember back that far, but it's crazy how far we've come. These are 2 guys who are really dedicated to sports, and so excited to have them on the team now. So with that out of the way, we'll hand it over to David for his first ever hosting episode of Section
Thank,
101.
thank you, Ronnie. Very touched by that intro. Happy to be on the team. Let's hop right into it. Klay Thompson, the man of the hour, being signed by the Dallas Mavericks to a 3-year, $150 million deal. Ronnie, how do you think this is going to work out for the Mavericks here?
Yeah, this is a crazy sign and trade deal over here with the Warriors and the Mavs. Obviously, they were contenders to get Klay once the offseason started. Did not see him sticking around in the Warriors this year. He brings a really good veteran presence, and this is a really cushy deal for Klay. All he's going to have to do, he's the third option. He's just going to have to sit in the corner and shoot threes the entire game. It's what he's wanted to do his entire career. He's a good catch-and-shoot threat. Klay Thompson brings a great veteran presence to a team that just made the finals. And it's really good that they filled this hole because after they lost Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah, I think this is a very good move by the Mavericks here. Their lineup next year is looking pretty scary. I mean, if you look at it, they can have Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson possibly playing the small forward role, PJ Washington, and then, they have the 2 centers. They have Gafford and Powell there. So this team is looking dangerous, and I think they can make a playoff run next year too.
Yeah, and after Derek Lively, again, he had an amazing rookie year. I don't expect him to be as good as he was this year, but he should have a pretty decent season. And like I said, Clay's
Yeah.
it's just a great situation for him.
I don't think they're gonna have to call on Derek Lively as much this year as they're gonna have to next year. All
Yeah,
right, and with
definitely.
that, now we're gonna move into the Golden State Warriors again, making another big move, waiving Chris Paul, and now Chris Paul has signed with the Spurs. We're gonna talk about that later, but let's talk about Kyle Anderson, who got traded from the Timberwolves to the Warriors for a 3-year deal. How do you think about that, Ronnie?
Yeah, definitely. This was a crazy signing. Honestly, I didn't really like it the best, but I see why it had to happen. The Warriors, they need to clear some room, and it's a great signing for them.
Yeah, I think it's a good signing too. The Warriors got a draft pick, I think, with this as well, or Minnesota got a draft pick. One of them got a draft pick. But I think Kyle Anderson will be a good addition to this team. He played some great basketball down there in Minneapolis, and I wonder how he's going to fit into this Warriors team.
Yeah, and he's a quality defender too. He's going to bring some defense to that team who needs some defense out of their guard positions now.
Yes, that's
Um,
going to be very key.
yeah, and just with the Chris Paul issues, I know they were trying to package him in a trade for LeBron. They really wanted to get LeBron over to Golden State, but
Yep.
just didn't end up working out, and they ended up having to waive that huge contract. Crazy how he
Yeah.
got all that money.
Yeah, I think 30 million was what they were going to have to pay him if they couldn't get him to put him in a trade. So we couldn't get a trade deal with Chris Paul in there.
Yeah, just couldn't get it done. Sometimes that
Yeah.
happens in the NBA, and teams they've been smarter in more recent years.
Yes, exactly. All right, now we are going to move on to the Mavericks. Obviously, they mentioned signing Klay Thompson. and they got rid of Derek Jones Jr. Ronnie, how do you think that this Derek Jones Jr. trade, or sorry, not trade, free agency went for the Mavericks here?
Yeah, I think it's a big hit for them. Obviously, Derek Jones Jr. was an amazing player for them, especially later in the stretch. Really helped them in that playoff run, and I understand why he got the money that he did. It was a nine million a year. He got him, sorry, 10 million a year, 3 year, $30 million deal. Um, he's going to a team in the Clippers who had a really disappointing offseason. We'll touch on them later. Obviously, they lost a lot of big pieces, and their title window is kind of closing really fast. Hopefully, we'll see Derek Jones Jr. kind of fill in that spot that Paul George leaves, but I don't know. I don't see him being as good as PG-13.
Yeah, I agree with that one. All right, now after that, we're going to move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Ronnie, signing Isaiah Hartenstein. What do you feel about this signing here for the Thunder?
I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein has got to be one of the biggest winners in this NBA free agency. He got so much money in this deal. He was a great player last year on the Knicks. As a Bucks fan, I really wanted the Bucks to sign him. He's just a quality player. He's gonna fill in right across from Chet Holmgren. Should be a really good counter to him. They play really similar play styles, but also different in a way where Chet can shoot the ball and Hartenstein is kind of relying on the paint. Like I said, he got a huge contract, 3 year, $87 million, nearly $30 million a year. That is
Yeah,
insane.
that's a lot of
Um,
money.
yeah, and OKC looks really good right now. They're
Yeah.
shaping up to be one of the better teams in the league, especially after getting Alex Caruso too. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, Caruso, yeah. I think this was a really smart move by the Thunder here. He didn't have he had a very good impact on the Knicks, but his stats weren't as impressive as what I think they're gonna pay him. But maybe I think they're paying him so that he can develop. He's only 26 years old, so he still has a lot of room to grow. I mean, we see this with LeBron. LeBron almost looks like he's improving, and he's like 39. He's 26, so he can improve majorly throughout his course, and I think he might stick with the Thunder for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and with that, now we're going to move on to the Spurs, talk more about this Chris Paul signing. Chris Paul signed with the Spurs for a 1 year deal for $11 million. I think Chris Paul, this is going to be a really good move for him. He can shoot, he can play a lot of defense, and I think that veteran presence with Paul is going to really help this young Spurs team. I think the Spurs are one of the youngest teams in the league this year. Um, this is looking like a solid Spurs team that's shaping up here, Ronnie. What do you think?
Yeah, geez, Wemby's development is about to be insane this year. The having Chris Paul on your team, which I know he had kind of a rough year last year, but really all he does is pass. He's one of the greatest passers of all time. He can really just swing that rock around. And I think with Wemby on that team, where they had a lot of problems where they weren't getting the ball to him earlier in the year, they moved him to center. Greg Popovich, an absolute genius. But I feel like Chris Paul would be a really good running mate with Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I think if he starts, if Wemby gets open more, gets a lot of these passes from CP3, that this can be one of the unique dynamic duos in this tough NBA league.
I know we're talking a lot about Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, but we should be talking a lot about Stephon Castle too. This is great for his development. I know we were
Hey,
talking last week.
yes,
We were talking last week in our NBA draft video how we liked him as a prospect and how he fits in with the Spurs system. And
yeah,
Chris Paul. They call him the point guard for a reason, other than CP zero rings. But hopefully he can be a really good mentor to Stephon Castle.
yeah. This can be Chris Paul can have two dynamic duos going, one with Castle and one with Wemby, but let's see how it shapes out for this Spurs team this year. With that, we're going to move into the Lakers. LeBron signing a 2 year, $104 million contract to stay with the Lakers and play with Bronny James, his son. Ronnie, we all saw this coming. Do you think that LeBron should have got the amount of money that he did with this signing?
I mean, it's LeBron James. What can I say? He's one of the greatest players of all time. Number two, in my opinion. That can be debated, obviously.
I agree.
We
I
kind
agree with
of
that.
we all saw this coming the entire way. I mean, they signed his podcast mate, just like you and me. They signed JJ Redick. They
Yeah.
got Bronny James, his son, who should not have been drafted. Again, we talked about that last week. Go ahead. Hey, just make sure you listen to last week's episode about the NBA draft can see David's last episode as a guest. Just a little plug right there. Obviously, we all saw this coming, and LeBron got the supermax. They wanted to keep him around for 2 more years. Oldest player in the NBA, and we'll see if this is his last contract or not.
Yeah, I think maybe this money will give LeBron a little incentive to push this team to the playoffs and get a deeper run than they did last year.
For sure.
And with that, we're going to move into our last team in the Western Conference, the LA Clippers. Ronnie, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, obviously we see the Clippers. They had a really, really rough offseason. PG-13 going to the 76ers. Really, really tough decision to not bring him back. The 76ers looking great this for next year, by the way. They got Derrick Jones Jr. like we said earlier, but that's not an equal trade, honestly.
Yeah.
They had one of the rougher off seasons, and unfortunately, this championship window that we all saw, they were one of the best teams we thought. Once they got Kawhi and Paul George in the same off season, and now Paul George is gone, and we just don't know what direction they're going in now.
Yep, I totally agree. Although they did re-sign James Harden to a 2-year, 70 million dollar contract.
Yeah.
So maybe this brings back a little bit of that championship team that we thought they were going to be, but I don't think it's not looking good for the Clippers. Hopefully they figure out their issues and shape up for next year.
Yeah, and they unfortunately are one of the bigger losers, and they could have had last year with the first round. The Warriors offered them Jonathan Kuminga, a first round pick, but they were gonna have to take Chris Paul, and they really just didn't want to do that. So
Yep.
unfortunately, he has to leave, and the championship window is over. But we should see some good talent coming back for the Clippers.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to move into the Eastern Conference. Let's start off with the 76ers. In my opinion, the biggest winners in this free agency, signing 3 huge players. They got Paul George. Let's see. Paul George is the biggest one. Ronnie, I'll let you talk about Paul George for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Paul George, an amazing, amazing player, as we all know, plays great defense. One of the better two-way players in the league, besides Kawhi Leonard, obviously. He averaged only 22 points per game as a number 2 option. He's going to be the 2 or 3, depending on how highly you think of Tyrese Maxey, who we'll get into later. He shoots the ball well, 47 from the field, 41 from 3. He's just a great player. It's Paul George. We all know what he can do, and we should
Yeah.
see him have a great year with. He doesn't have to be the number 1 option as half of his games. But
Yep.
the only thing that's really annoying for me is he goes from one of the most injured players in the NBA to the most injured player in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard sitting out every other game, and now Joel Embiid sitting out every other game too. Hopefully they
Yeah.
can keep this team healthy, but I don't know. We should see a pretty good year from them.
Yeah, another big thing coming out of the 76ers organization, they re-signed Tyrese Maxey to a 5-year, $204 million contract. Maxey, he's only 23. He had a great season last year, Ronnie. What do you think about his season last year?
Yeah, it was a breakout year. Obviously, we see him come out of his shell a little bit after losing James Harden. They developed Maxi beautifully. I mean, he averaged 25 points per game, shot 45% from the field, almost 40% from three. A solid defender and a great passer. He's an all-around really good player.
Yeah, I think his breakout year last year really, really helped the 76ers firm up that decision and re-sign him this year. And coming out of the 76ers, again, Kelly Oubre Jr., who they got this year, has decided to stay with the team for a 2-year, 16 million dollar contract. Oubre averaged 15 points last year and led the team in steals. Ronnie, what do we think about Oubre staying on with the 76ers team?
The ultimate light-skinned basketball player. I mean, he scores the ball. He's a great driver, and he's a really good passer too. And like you said, he led their team in steals. Just a quality signing. They got him for decently cheap as well. They also got Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond, who will be a great Joel Embiid backup for when he inevitably goes down this year.
Yeah, I think this 76ers team is looking like a big dog in the Eastern Conference, if I do say so myself.
Definitely one of the top teams.
All right, and with that, we're going to move into the Detroit Pistons. Not too much to talk about here. They re-signed Kane Cunningham to a 5-year contract. Ronnie, I'll let you talk a little about that.
Yeah, Kate Cunningham, one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Just an amazing player on a really dysfunctional franchise. Averaged 22 points per game last year, 45% from the field, 35% from three. He's just a great player. He's so undervalued. If he can get some help over there, which they gave him a little bit, they got Tobias Harris in this offseason, but we should see him have a bit of a better year, especially with new coaching system. Everything, a lot of stuff's changing over there, so we'll see what goes on.
Yeah, they also signed Tobias Harris, who I think is going to fit really well into this team. Pistons not looking like a great team again, but maybe these two re-signing Cunningham and adding Tobias Harris, maybe they can get a little something going here.
For sure.
All right, and now we're gonna move into the Celtics. Man, they made history, two times in a couple weeks, winning their 18th NBA championship and then signing Tatum to break the NBA record for highest contract. Ronnie, what do we think about this?
Jason Tatum, what do you got to say? He's a great player. He can play, he can shoot, he can drive, he can play good defense. An amazing player and the cornerstone of that franchise right now. Well, I do think Jaylen Brown is the better player. That's my NBA hot take. I'm gonna stand by it forever.
Ooh,
I
interesting hot
think
take, man.
I think Jason Tatum is a great player and definitely top 15 player in the league right now.
Yeah, this
And we did see that their ownership is selling the team now, which means whoever buys the team next is going to have an incredibly high luxury tax to pay, which does suck for
yes.
them. But I mean, if you're that rich already, you might as well go for it.
Yeah, I mean, this Celtics team, they look good. They've been looking good every year for like the last 5 years now. $314 million dollars is what they're paying Tatum to stay on for 5 years. This team is just looking good all around if they can keep everybody on here. We're gonna move into the Magic now. The Magic have made a couple moves this offseason. Not a lot, but they did. Today they have signed Franz Wagner to a pretty big contract. They signed him to a 5 year, $224 million contract on his rookie extension. Wagner played very good this year. He averaged a career high 19 points, averaged about 5.5 rebounds, and just under 4 assists. Um, he did shoot a career low from behind the arc this year. Ronnie, what do we think about him shooting so low from behind the arc?
I mean, he's Franz Wagner. He's a power forward. He's doesn't isn't going to be called on to shoot the three all that often, and they changed their scheme a little bit. Um, I mean, I love Franz Wagner, and I think this is a great extension for them. I'm a Badgers fan, and I remember him tearing us up in his years at Michigan from 2019 to 2021. He's just a great basketball player, you know. He's gonna help that Orlando Magic team, and they looked really strong last year. Hopefully, they can improve a little bit and see where they go this year.
Yeah, also coming out of the Magic, they signed his older brother Mo to a 2 year, 22 million dollar contract to keep the brother pair together, just like the Bucks have done multiple times with Giannis and Thanasis. And
Yep.
now we're going to move in on from the Magic and into the Cavaliers, re-signing their star guard Donovan Mitchell to a 3 year, $150 million contract. Ronnie, I think this re-sign made a lot of sense for the Cavs. They had a good year this year. Mitchell looked phenomenal, way better than he did when he was out in Utah with the Jazz. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's Donovan Mitchell. He's getting a 3 year, $150 million contract extension. He's again, I've said this a couple times already, but he's the cornerstone of their franchise. We're doing this video a little bit early, but I would not be surprised if they do end up moving on from Darius Garland, who feels a little bit excluded in this team and wants to be a number one on his own team. I'm seeing that this Cavs team is improving, and they're going to make some more trades. We should see them become a little bit better, a little bit worse. You know, there's always trade-offs in the NBA. Hopefully that Donovan Mitchell, I mean, can lead this team into some more wins.
Yep, and now we're going to move on to this Chicago's Bulls team, a rival of the Cavs. The Bulls have officially announced today that DeMar DeRozan has played his last game in Chicago. There are rumors that he might be heading out to the Western Conference with the Kings. Ronnie, how do you think that DeMar would fit into this developing Kings team?
Yeah, I mean, DeMar DeRozan is a great mid-range threat. He plays a little bit older than most players. I think he would slide in pretty nicely at the 2 or the 3. Obviously, they have De'Aaron Fox there, who's very explosive. Harrison Barnes, who's a great presence on that team, and Domantas Sabonis. They're a little bit young still, and that's, I feel, what inevitably led to their downfall a couple of years ago in the playoffs. I think getting DeMar DeRozan, getting some experience on that team, and a guy who knows how to win basketball games, having played under Greg Popovich in the Spurs and in the Raptors when they had a really good team over there. Um, Honestly, I think this would be a great fit for them. They could slide him in at the 2 where Kevin Herter is right now. Not the best player by any means. We should see that. I think that'd be a great fit, honestly.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't even go to the Kings, I think another option where he could go was the Clippers. The Clippers, he could also start as a replacement for Paul George, maybe filling in the bigger role and not playing as much of a shooter. Because in Chicago, he played as the power forward for them because he's a little bit of a bigger guy. But
For
I
sure.
think that he has a lot of options of where he can go, and his career's looking pretty good.
Yeah, we should see what goes on here, and hopefully the Bulls can get a good return.
All right, and with our final team that we're covering, we're going to be talking about the New York Knicks, arguably one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference this year. And next year, they're looking like a dangerous team. Ronnie, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks. What can you say more about this offseason? They bring back the Nova boys, bringing Miles Bridges to this team, and what I think was a very, very good trade for both sides. They got a couple more pieces over there. They believe they re-signed OG Anunoby. Let me just make sure I'm not slandering
Um,
right here.
I
They
think
do
he,
they
yeah,
do
they did. Yeah, they
yeah,
did.
they do get him back. They had a great offseason and they're looking like contenders next year.
Yeah, this team is looking insane. I think like if I had to bet money on the Knicks winning the championship next year, I'd put them in the NBA Finals in a heartbeat. This team is looking dangerous. They have so much depth. This is one of the teams where you talk about, oh, you need depth, you need depth. Look at the Knicks. This team is stacked from top to bottom. You can't fill a hole no matter where you look.
Yeah, they look really, really deep, and that's what we've seen in the NBA. Let's just go through this team and compare it to past championship rosters. I mean, we always see in the two big similarities between the past two NBA Finals winners. They have two really solid players. We can say Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, or Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle there, and then they surround them with role players. OG Anunoby, great role player. Mikal Bridges, a great role player. Mitchell Robinson, a decent center, looking to find someone better, I believe. Dante DiVincenzo can shoot the lights out. He was the third splash brother over there in Golden State. Josh Hart, another great player. This team, they have championship potential now.
Yeah, I totally agree. They have such potential here that I don't know if anybody can stop this team. They just got to work well, mesh together, and let's hope this Knicks team comes out and beats the Celtics next year.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Knicks fans are in so much turmoil right now in the past 20 years without a championship. Hopefully,
They need a
hopefully they can.
boost.
Yeah, they definitely do. Get Stephen A. Smith happy.
All right, everybody. That wraps up the 2024 free agency episode. As your host, David Blazer, I would like to thank you for listening to Section 101.
And I'm Ronnie Decker. We'll hope to see you soon. Make sure you check out our Spotify. We're posting this there. We post all our podcasts there. Really great stuff going on Spotify. We're having more episodes over there now. Check out our YouTube if you're listening on Spotify. We have videos coming out for a week starting very, very soon. Some shorts coming out there over too. Check out our Instagram. That's where we make most major announcements. And make sure you follow David Blazer over on Spotify. I'll have him plug it in the description over here. We'll see you guys next time, and thank you for listening to Section 101.
See you guys. Peace.